Back on the SportsMax Zone, legendary former West Indies pacer Sir Andy Roberts believes the West Indies will struggle to advance to the Super 12 phase of the ICC T20 World Cup in Australia starting next month. Sir Andy made his views about the makeup of the squad known last evening on the Mason and Guest show, aired on VOB radio in Barbados. These are the 15 men selected for the tournament in Australia. Let's have a quick look at them now. Nicholas Pooran, captain; Robin Paul, vice-captain; Brandon King, Johnson Charles, Evan Lewis, Kyle Mears, Shimron Hetmar, Raymond Reefer, Yannick Carrier, Jason Holder, Odin Smith, Akil Hussain, Sheldon Cottrell, Alzari Joseph and Obed McCoy. Now, Sir Andy says he is disappointed by the omission of Hayden Walsh Jr.
I was looking forward to Hayden Walsh. You know, Australia, he may get more bunks in Australia than he would get.
Right, that's true.
And he's going to save you 20, 30 runs per game. And that's very important because our batters might not be able to get 20 or 30 runs. That the makeup of that team, you have 3 left-hand seamers. Yeah, you have Cottrell,
Reefer, and McCoy.
What are we doing with 3 left-hand seamers? Again, remember talk about pace off.
Right.
McCoy to bowl 140s. Now McCoy is done 120s and 130s. So he's depending more on the slow ball. And in Australia, the bouncy pitches is when he should be bowling 140, or if he can go up to 145. The other problem I have with our units is that we keep changing our bowlers. Australia play the same 3 quick bowlers in the vast majority of their games. It's Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. You check how many times West Indies play the same opening lineup.
Now, unlike some pundits around the region, the 71-year-old is unconvinced the Windies will progress smoothly to the Super 12 stage of the tournament.
I don't think it's going to be easy to qualify.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Why not, Sandy?
We don't have a settled team.
Ooh.
Playing around with the team. And that is the biggest problem. If you're not fit, if you don't know what your teammate is capable of doing, because he just comes into the team. You know, when West Indies was at its best, we had a settled team for 5-10 years. And if you check on Australia have a settled team. Pakistan have a settled team. India is fiddling around with their team, and look at the problems that they're having now. You need settled teams. And, you know, Kevin just said about Raymond. But for Barbados, it's a different thing at the international level. And we're going with a number of new players new to the international scene. You know, we know that this World Cup is going to be this year. We know from long time. So we should have been, you know, trying our best to make sure that we have a unit that, you know, that is ready to go from ball one.
Anderson, Montgomery, Everton, Roberts, Sir Andy, and some strong comments there from Sir Andy George, a very you know, highly opinionated former player who made some solid points, but there are some counters to that, George. When he makes the point about other teams having settled teams and so on, these for the most part are winning teams. So there is less likelihood that selectors are going to change a team that is doing well as opposed to a team that is not doing well, and selectors are trying to search, sift through players, try players, because the West Indies white ball game is very poor at the moment, and it's hard to keep a settled team if they keep losing.
Yeah, you said for the most part the teams that are settled are the teams that are winning. I'd go further. The teams that are settled are the teams that are winning, not for the most part.
Yeah.
And he even gave some examples. He name-dropped a couple of teams. And the one
Australia.
that he name-dropped one that is having difficulties because they're chopping and changing. India. And he provided rebuttal for the point that he made by saying that India are not settled, and look at how their performances have been. Exactly. So when you're not performing consistently well, then you can't consistently have the same team. And like you said, he referenced the West Indies and the period of stability, which of course coincided with the period of excellent results, and they go hand in hand. You can't have a settled team that is losing series after series. That's madness. So it stands to reason why the West Indies selectors would chop and change. But in the same breath, there are more than enough kernels of solidity about some of what he's saying.
Yes.
I would also say that his claim that we perhaps have been let down by bad planning, which is why we have gotten here without a settled team, I'm not so sure that holds up, because to be fair to Cricket West Indies, they have been picking teams in series and for series and giving men chances to be to test their mettle as captain. Remember, there was a Rovman Powell experiment not so long ago overseas. Then they went and entrusted Pooran with the responsibility. They've been trying with Hetmeyer to keep him in the fold, and he was failing fitness test after fitness test. Oh, by the way, if Hetmeyer was playing for any of the leading teams in the format, he would have been discarded long time ago if they had set fitness standards and he had transgressed with them and for them as often as he did for us. But we tried to keep him in. Evan Lewis, after a rather cryptic and dispassionate response to Desmond Haynes in a conversation about being available to do fitness tests and to make himself available for the team, was talked around into playing. So they have planned, they have tried to keep the players who they believe can help us together and in the project. The only problem is that the quality is not so deep. So Sir Andy's comments, I think, have more to do with less to do with lack of planning at this stage than the fact that the planning is good, but you can plan all you want. With players who aren't consistently good, you're going to have what we have with West Indies.
I think Sir Andy made some solid points, though, with the three left-arm pacers, because
brilliant point.
It is an issue that has been questioned, because Sheldon Cottrell's selection into this team has been criticised by many experts in regional cricket, and he has not done a whole lot to justify his position, strengthening the point that Sir Andy is making about three left-arm seamers.
But question for you, though, on the Sheldon Cottrell point. Take Sheldon Cottrell out of the 15. Who is your fast bowler with know-how in the squad? I mean,
know-how.
Yeah, Jason. Jason. When you say Jason fast,
apart.
I mean, right.
He's
but Jason,
he's medium.
Yeah, there you go. Who is your fast bowler of note? So again, when you don't have the depth of quality to really pick, because I can see the point Sir Andy is making, and on the surface it is a good point, and even if you scratch below the surface, it's still a good point. Yeah. But to take Cottrell out, and I'm trying to look at why the selectors would have said, you know what, for the makeup of this thing, let's go Cottrell, because Cottrell out, you have no fast bowler with know-how in this team to help. And that is what I think Desmond Haynes and company didn't want to strip the team of. When I hear Sir Andy break down, for instance, Obed McCoy, and he gave in very few words an assessment of Obed McCoy's skill set that, you know, only people who know what they're talking about can give, because he said, look, Obed McCoy likes to bowl, at his best he's giving you 140. Yeah, but if you realize that he's been going down to 130 and 120 in recent outings.
Well, his slower ball is his best weapon.
But here's the thing. Sir Andy says, he said that. He said his slow ball is his best weapon, 130 and 120. But the bouncy pitches in Australia are not going to give you any joy if you're bowling at that speed, because he needs to go 140, 145. So what he's saying is that you needed somebody who could give you 145, obviously with control, and with the slow ball used as the shock, the deceptive delivery.
The surprise delivery.
So he broke down Obed McCoy, what Obed McCoy gives you, what Australian pitches will demand, to say that maybe there's not good alignment between that selection and the task at hand in Australia.
Yes, and because Sir Andy has an extremely good good cricket brain, these are some of the things that he will spot that maybe the average cricket fan won't spot.
For sure.
Because he's suggesting that because the tournament is being played in Australia, that has to factor in some of the decisions you make.
But and then again, and maybe even there on the McCoy assessment from Sir Andy. Again, brilliant assessment in very few words. That perhaps is the reason Desmond Haynes and company said, all right, then let's go Cottrell. Because, again, I'm saying, if you want, I mean, you're not going to get a spell sustained speed. You might get an over or a half an over. But even that, I mean, that can change a game. Yes. So when you look at know-how and the ability and the capacity to do that and perform and give you that, maybe that's what got Cottrell the nod. I don't expect, though, given his form, that he would have been a straightforward pick. But again, if you're looking to make up a squad with what you have, it's all well and good, Lance, to talk about the players that you don't have. With what is available in front of them, I think that's what got Cottrell in the same analysis that Sir Andy used to question the selection of McCoy.
He didn't say that in the clips that we just presented, but I think he did say as well he doesn't support Evan Lewis's selection, either himself or
I think it was him who said it.
Or Philo said it.
I think it was him. I think it was Randy who said it.
That's very contentious as well, because we remember Fazir Mohammed in a very strident manner.
Losing his rag.
Yes, strident manner, suggesting that he's shocked at Evan Lewis's selection. No, I think, and Fazir made the point, and he said it was on a point of principle, that because no one is disputing Evan Lewis's ability to bat.
Yes.
Fazir went as far as to say if he makes 100 in every single match he plays, he will still think that he shouldn't have been picked.
Yes.
And I don't know what the discussions were between him and selection chairman Desmond Haynes that resulted in him being picked. Personally, I don't have a major problem with Evan Lewis being picked. I recognize that there have been players, Lewis among them, who have shown an unwillingness in recent times not to play for the West Indies. So from that perspective, I would wonder why Lewis got picked and let's say Russell and Fabian Allen didn't get picked, because I have them in the same boat as being reluctant to represent the maroon and gold in international cricket. So that is a bit of a question mark for me. But you know what, George? I am of the opinion, I have been over decades a little less critical of selectors than many West Indies cricket fans are. I'm not saying they're perfect, and I know they pick bad teams from time to time, but they have a tough job.
Yeah.
People behave as if they have a proliferation of talent that they, just pick out of a bag. We have a poor team.
Yes.
And
a poor pool.
Yes, and essentially, if the selection performance is being judged on the performance of the team, then they will always fail, and that they have always been failing. I want to say very quickly, though, that I believe, and this is going to be a very contentious point, but I believe selectors have the license to make decisions that may not be in keeping with what statistics say. In other words, if it is that you're just picking people on performance and what the statistics say, then we don't need a selection panel.
Right.
Statisticians can just go and say, well, these are the best performing players in the past year, so this is what we're going to pick. So I'm saying if you're going to name a selection panel and part of their acumen is their knowledge of cricket, then I would suggest that they should be given the license to make some picks that may look unfair to the average person. And I'm saying directly with the Hayden Walsh, Yannick Carrier choice that they made. Hayden Walsh obviously is unfortunate not to get picked here.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is disputing that. But to be fair, he hasn't been a successful leg spinner for the West Indies. He has not. I know Carrier is inexperienced. He doesn't even much play T20 cricket. But I am willing to see what he does, because the selection panel, led by Desmond Haynes, they believe that they see something in him that gives him the nod over Hayden Walsh. And I'm saying that it is questionable, given what he has brought to the table so far, and they've put their necks on the block to pick him. But I believe selectors should be given license to make decisions like those, because they are seeing, they are looking from something from a leg spinner, that Walsh has fallen short of for a few years now.
Yeah.
And while I would concede, and I agree, that based on his performance, there's nothing about Carrier, based on what we have seen, that puts him ahead of Walsh, if you look at what they have produced. But the selectors have gone for Carrier, and I am anxious to see what he does.
If you look at the West Indies 15, and if you take it back to the issue concerning Andre, Fabian, and Evan, if you were to do the squad sector by sector, openers, middle order, lower middle, tail, Evan Lewis would then emerge as an outstanding candidate to select if he makes himself available. Because ask yourself, okay, what is the demonstrable potential ability? Demonstrable potential means that the person's potential is based on what they've demonstrated in the past at this level. So demonstrable potential. If you look at the demonstrable potential of all the guys in the team who have opened in a specialist way or have served as makeshift openers, who has the greatest capacity to deliver based on what he's done in a West Indies shirt? The answer is easy. Evan Lewis.
Yes.
That's an easy question to answer.
Yes.
That's how he gets picked. When you look at the all-round sector of the team now, and you say, okay, based on what you have demonstrated in a West Indies shirt, what are you likely to do if you're going to pick on that basis? Andre, who is in my all-time T20, any T20 team I'm picking of Andre Russell, because they're picking players at their best. Andre Russell gets in very early, one of the early.
Yes.
But in a West Indies shirt, Lance, has our Superman done it in the way that you've said Hayden Walsh Jr. has not done it?
That's right.
The jury's out on Andre in a West Indies shirt.
Yes.
Fabian, I'm very saddened, just short of distraught that Fabian isn't going, because I think his time is now.
Yeah.
But I think he's just been victimized by the fact of the illness and the injuries and the circumstances with his father, which kept him away for so long that they didn't see enough of him. And yes, he's shown at the CPL that he is back to his best. But I think this lack of seeing him in the West Indies colours before now would have swayed them away from him. So he's unfortunate. But again, to stick with the point, when you look at demonstrable potential in a West Indies shirt, are you saying that demonstrable potential in a West Indies shirt means both Andre and Fabian ought to get in as all-rounders over those who are there ahead of them? And you'd struggle to say yes. So remember now, you said a resounding yes on the Evan Lewis point, but you're struggling to say yes here because, of course, if you take Dre Russell outside of West Indies colours, he walks into any team in World T20 because he's Andre Russell. And his record speaks for itself.
To add to the point that you're making, George, I believe that if Andre Russell had represented any other country outside of the West Indies, let's say Australia, South Africa, England, he would be playing. And part of the reason he would be playing would be because he would have always wanted to play. There's something about the West Indies maroon cap that doesn't excite Andre Russell.
Yes.
And I'm saying that is part of the problem surrounding West Indies cricket at the moment.
Yes.
A lot of other, the baggy green, the Australians die to play for Australia. The Englishmen want to play for England. So I believe that if Andre Russell was of another nationality, he would have wanted to play. And that red mark against him about not wanting to play in the past, which contributed to him not being selected here, that would have been a non-issue.
Question for you. 15 men squads for Pakistan, Australia, England, New Zealand, West Indies. Did I say India? Pakistan, Australia, India, New Zealand, Australia.
Yes.
No, Pakistan,
South
Australia,
Africa.
India, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
15 men squads. T20 World Cup. You are picking a top 50 from the cumulative pool of all those players picked by the respective countries for the T20 World Cup. So you're picking the top 50 based only on what those players have done internationally. Forget the club form, forget the franchise form, forget all of that and the contributions. You're picking strictly on international form. How many of these West Indians that we have spoken about in the squad, that we've spoken about who have been omitted, would get into a top 50 if you put all of those players together and so you can only pick the best 50 from this?
Very
We'd struggle.
Yeah, I keep doing
We'd struggle.
the ICC ranking stories, George, when they come out. Akil Hossain is the only West Indies player with a top 10 rating at the moment in ICC T20 player rankings. He's the 10th ranked bowler.
Yeah.
Apart from Nicholas Pooran, who is the 12th ranked batsman, there's no West Indian player in the top 20 rankings in any division,
Any category.
batting, bowling, or all-rounders.
Yeah.
So our cricket pool at the moment is not impressive.
That's the point I made.
Not impressive.
If someone asks, why are you making that point? Well, that's why I made the point.
Yes,
because it's not as if Des Haynes and company are picking
Yes.
among the best or just below the best players in the world and have difficulties doing so.
You know, George, selectors have always been criticized. The selection panel before this one was criticized. The one before that one was criticized. And I understand people being upset when players who they feel should be picked don't get picked. I understand that. And I believe that the difficulty in picking, the difficulty level of a West Indies cricket selector is greater than most other teams at the moment, simply because the team isn't doing well, especially in white ball cricket.
Yeah.
And it is impossible for any selection panel, as we have seen for decades, to pick a team and not be criticized.
Question for you. Can you quickly just pull up the top 4 teams in T20 international cricket for me? I want to ask you a question based on the top 4 teams in the international T20 rankings. Yes, so T20 rankings, the top 4 teams based on ranking points, based on series results, of course, as determined by the ICC. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. The top 4.
India number 1.
Yes.
England 2, South Africa 3, Pakistan 4.
Excellent.
Men's T20 team rankings.
Okay, hold that right there. Mr. Producer, may it please you to give us the graphic of the West Indies squad again, please, for the T20 World Cup, the 15-man squad. Solans, Pooran, Powell, King Charles, Lewis, Mears, Hetmeyer, Reefer, McCoy, Joseph, Cottrell, Hossain, Smith, Holder, Correa. Who is the best player in this team? Batsman, bowler, wicketkeeper. Who is the best player in this team? By your estimation. The best individual.
I would have to say Jason Holder, but his stocks aren't very high. If you're going to ask me if Jason Holder could make the India,
that's
England,
exactly what
South
I'm asking
Africa
you.
and Pakistan
11.
Team,
Which of those?
11,
Hold on. Don't jump the shark, Lance, as the Aussies would say. Don't jump the shark.
Yes.
If our best player based on this squad, does our best player from this squad make the 12 of the 4 teams?
India, England, South Africa, Pakistan.
Yes.
I would think not.
Then, Lance, what are we killing the selectors for?
And I'm even struggling to say Jason Holder is the best player in this 15.
Yes, you are struggling to say that.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
You are struggling to say that.
But I don't know who else to say.
And that's the point. Yeah, so we kill Des Haynes and we cuss Skerritt and we cuss Shallow and them are idiot and... Yeah. Do we take the break now, Mr. Producer? Let's take the break and come back with more of the SportsMax Zone.